It's the greatest two words in sports. Game 7. It will happen Monday night in Toronto. I'm Dan with Kyle and Bobby Valentine. And the Blue Jays, I don't even think we can say they continue to amaze. They just continue to get things done, Bobby.
Yeah, they rose to the occasion tonight. The full house going back to Toronto. They had all guns a-blazing, a full team effort behind a young pitcher who was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, Bobby, it seemed like tonight Savage had regained some of the control. He wasn't bad in his last outing, but he had lost some of that fine control. Tonight it seemed like the off-speed stuff, the splitter and the slider, he was keeping it lower with the exception of that pitch to Naylor. He found his zone again, and he pitched another gem.
Yeah, that splitter is something that hitters had a lot of trouble with tonight and will forever. He reminds me of Hideo Nomo, actually, with the fastball over the top and the split that just disappears. And when you keep it down and they're chasing, you're going to get a lot of strikeouts, a lot of swings and misses. And he had a lot of luck tonight. Remember, bases loaded, double plays. When the ball's hit hard, isn't really skill. There's a little luck there, and we'll take good luck for the good guys.
Vladdy hits one out. Barger hits one out. But you mentioned the double plays. This game might be remembered for double plays in the third, fourth, and fifth. John Smoltz, I love listening to him talk baseball. And he said, you might go a month, you might go a year without 3 double plays. So to have them 3 innings in a row, that is very rare.
And with the bases loaded, you're hoping that will happen. You're trying to keep the ball out of the air. You're looking for a swing and miss, and if there's contact, let it be at an infielder. And sure enough, it was 3 times tonight, or twice with the bases loaded, and 3 double plays. That's being very efficient. And like you say, you'd rather be lucky.
Bobby, in sticking with the defense for a moment, Seattle committed 3 errors tonight. The Jays committed 0. They played very sound baseball. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero continues to be a force at the plate, but what we saw tonight was how sound he is defensively, which often goes unheralded.
Well, the first double play, he might be the only right-handed fielding first baseman who makes that double play, where he was able to field it off his left, take that one step, throw it to the second base very accurately, very quickly, and Savage was at the bag to turn that 3-6-1 double play, which is a hard double play, but it all starts with the first baseman's throw, and he was terrific with the exchange.
Who is barking? Is Rusty a Mariner? Is he upset or happy the Jays won?
Oh, my wife came home, so they're going to bark a little. You know what I mean? It's about the wife. It's not about the Jays. Yeah.
So the Mariners, you see them commit these errors on plays they've been making all year. You see Cal Raleigh throw one into left field. As a manager, do you see the pressure got to them because they're doing things they haven't done all year?
Well, Suarez wasn't on tonight. Even on the throw from Raleigh, I think he was out of position. He was square to home plate, like he was going to stretch and take the ball. He had to be tagging the runner, so he was in no position to field that ball and make a tag. Raleigh, hitting into a double play, striking out 3 times, making an error, is the king of SWAT ready for a vacation. He's got to be thinking. He's had such a spectacular year. It's been all about his heroics. Tonight, he was less than a hero, and he's going to try to come up big tomorrow. I'd stay away from him early. But, once you get down in these series, it's tough to get back up.
Ernie Clement continues to be a spark plug in this lineup. He is just delivering night after night, hit after hit. He's taking the extra base, and, of course, he's always playing very sound defensively. When a role player is on a roll like this, how much pressure does it take off the biggest bats in the lineup and, for that matter, the pitching staff?
Yeah, it does everything. When you can see 4 straight balls being thrown to him in his place in the lineup, you know that they're worrying about more than just the big boys. And when they worry about more than just the big boys can do what they did tonight. Hit home runs, drive runs in, get on base. But it's because of the bottom of the lineup that's happening for Vlad. And if they could keep it going one more day, it'd be great. But I think tomorrow's going to be the big boy day. I think it's big boys against big boys and see who shows up.
Gents, I'm not going to lie to you. I can barely sleep the night before I know I'm going to golf the next day. How do you possibly sleep before a game 7?
I'm not sure that you need to, A. But B, if you left it on the field, if you're tired, and I think they should be mentally and physically tired, a lot of these guys understand how to turn it off. And some of them are even very adept. Otani is a world-class sleeper. He could get on the bus after a game, and before the bus driver puts the bus in gear, he's asleep and doesn't wake up until he gets to the plane. Then he gets on the plane, he goes to sleep as soon as he sits down. So that's all part of the trick of being great also. And I think these guys probably have it down to a habit.
Well, Bobby, I have no idea how Otani could possibly have slept after the last game he played, which might have been the greatest game in baseball history. But sticking with the Blue Jays, and for that matter, the Mariners, both teams have to take quite a bit of comfort in knowing tomorrow night's game, no matter what happens for the winning team, they're off until Friday night. That's a lot of time to rebound and rest. And in the case of the Blue Jays, they would have home field advantage in the World Series. I don't recall if Seattle had a better record than LA or not. Perhaps a producer can chime in on that. But they'd rest easy. The arms would all be fresh. How much comfort will that provide the team, both teams for that matter, going into a game 7?
I'm not sure that rest idea is even going to come into play. The idea that it's the end, it's the last one, you're giving everything you have. No one's going to be tired tomorrow. Now, the managers, they might lose a little sleep tonight. Yeah, they might be staring at the ceiling quite a bit, but I think the players, they're going to give everything they have tomorrow, whether they sleep or not, and it's usually good enough in Game 7. You see the best come out.
Does anyone even have to go to John Schneider and tell him, yeah, you can call upon me, or that's just a given? These guys, everyone will be available.
Yeah, I think that they'll all be available, but the pitching coach will probably check with them. I'm sorry about the dogs.
No, don't worry.
We'll
Sounds
check
like
with
Toronto
them
right
and
now.
make sure it's all working. But I thought it was really kind of rude. What happened with John? I just want to make the comment. When Scherzer pulled that stuff the other day in the early innings and yelled at him at the mound or whatever the heck he did, that set in motion what you saw happening today, and it put John in a real tough situation. Coming out and making a pitching change that he had to make, he was getting booed. He was back on his heels. It's a tough situation that he's been put in because people now think, well, maybe he's making the wrong decision, and maybe the left-hander backfired a bit and was the wrong decision, but he's made a lot of good decisions to get this team where they are right now. And I hope that entire stadium tomorrow is behind him the way they're going to be behind the entire team, because there's going to be some pitching changes tomorrow.
Well, John Smoltz pointed out, he said Yusavage had lost his fastball. So when the pitching coach or manager picks that up, that must be a terrifying moment when your starter is out there without his best stuff.
Yeah, well, you have that checklist. You know what to look for when the time comes, and the time came. I think it even came a little later than than necessary. He could have exited that game earlier, but they stuck with him, waited for a guy to get on base. Luckily, they had the luxury of the lead in a multi-run lead. So tomorrow it might not be as fortunate, and you're going to have guys like Scherzer out there in the bullpen, maybe even Gosman in the bullpen. I look back years ago in '81 when Montreal was playing the Dodgers in a similar situation. They brought in their ace starting pitcher, Steve Rogers, to try to close it out, and Rick Monday hit a game-winning home run. I hope it doesn't come down to him having to put a starter in the game to win the game at the end of the game, because that's a no-win situation.
Yeah, Bobby, I think you've just made a fair point there when you critique the criticism of Schneider. It's fine to criticize him when he makes the wrong decision with Little in the previous game, but to Boom when he came out to the mound tonight in what I thought was a pretty obvious decision at that point. The pitch count was high. He lost a little smoke on the fastball, and he had started leaving the splitter up a little bit to the previous two batters. Seemed like a good time to pull him. They went to the fireball pitchers, the two of them, to close the game out, and they executed it all perfectly. I would like to think he's back in their good graces. But now, how does he take all of that into the clubhouse tonight, pushing this team coming off of a win into a game 7? I assume he would try and keep it as business as usual as possible. You're a coach, you'd know.
Yeah, it's business as usual, but it's also, he's walking around that clubhouse looking guys in the eyes, patting them on the butt, probably not saying very much, but he's letting them know that he's with them and he wants them with him. I think it's a necessary thing. And, before the game, one of those veteran guys, one of the stars of that team could go over to him, put their arm around him, understand his situation also, and just let him relax to make the decisions that he's going to have to make, because Pete Walker's there with him, and they're on the hot seat. It's game 7, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Bobby, and we'll talk to you following a game 7 Monday night. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks,
One thing the Blue Jays cannot do in that game 7, I don't think they will, but you never know, is bring out Louis Varland again. The Mariners have seen him enough, and when you see a guy enough, you're going to get used to his stuff.
Yeah, Dan, we were talking just before we went live on here too, that pitch count, he puts a guy on base there in the 9th, the pitch count creeps up towards 40. That's a lot of pitches for him to come in on 2 nights, but they didn't really use many other arms. And by all accounts, we keep saying it, we keep beating the point to death. This is why they brought Shane Bieber to town, right? They want him to go out there and they want him to eat 7 innings, 6.5, 6 1/3, and show his good stuff, give up some hits with no one on base, maybe. But he did have a good outing earlier in this series, and I don't see any reason to expect less than that this time around.
Yeah, you mentioned Hoffman. He pitches 2 innings. 6 outs is a lot for a closer. So I don't know if we'll see Varland. I don't know if we'll see Hoffman. Sir Anthony, last time we saw him, he gave up a grand slam. That gives you little. He gives up a home run. So that bullpen, I don't even know. Bobby said you don't want to throw a starter out there, but Scherzer will be out there. Gosman will be out there. You just hope, like you said, Bieber eats up a lot of innings, because it's getting scary. And also the injury to George Springer, he is not 100%, but he's not coming out of that lineup. No chance for a game 7.
Not a chance. And like sticking with Bieber for a moment, I just feel we've talked about this with Keegan Matheson, who I believe we have on the show with us tomorrow morning to discuss everything about game 6 and the upcoming game 7. But with Bieber, you see a fire from him on the bench and with his teammates. It's quite refreshing to see for someone who's only been with the squad for a couple of months. But we can't forget what Keegan brought up with us. He has a lot to play for right now because he is looking for a big contract. And it's not like he's using this space to solely do that. This guy wants to win. He is a gamer, but there could not be a better time for him to put on a show and have his best stuff.
Yeah, you want a guy playing for a contract.
Yeah,
and
you
the
do.
Mariners, if they bring out Kirby, he gave up 8 runs, which is the most ever in World Series history for a starter to give up. So I don't know if he gets named. You can't go to a bullpen game for a game 7, can you? All I know is I had confidence all day long, because watching John Schneider talk after game 6, after seeing Little serve up that home run and then walk the next 2 batters, and then the Sir Anthony home run, the Sir Anthony grand slam that he gave up. He talked about how close this team was, and in that instant, and I think we even discussed it after game 6, I said, "I bet you they go and win this for Brendan Little, because this guy was there. He was fantastic earlier in the season." They put him in because he'd only given up 2 home runs all year. So they said, well, can't bring in Hoffman. He serves up long balls. Let's bring in Little. He doesn't give up home runs. And well, that didn't work out. So this team is so close knit. They all talked about Little. They all talked about Sir, which they call Sir Anthony Dominguez. And they won this for them. They said, guys, we got your back. And that's what I love about this team is next man up.
Yeah, and the criticism of all the whole situation, it was fair, if not a little bit too fiery by the fan base, but he gave up a home run to a guy that hit his 64th home run of the year. Like, we can't lose perspective on the fact that this guy, he's had one of the most amazing season by a catcher ever in the history of baseball. And a little bit of slack on the line here for the decision making of Schneider and the poor pitching of Little is in order. But I want to talk about someone else tonight too, Dan. Completely flip the script. How about Addison Barger's bat
Yes,
waking up
guy.
tonight in a big way? Hitting the ball hard, hitting the ball all over the field, and just yet another J to have a big night when they needed him most.
Yeah, Barger comes through huge. I just love the kid. And when he was lost there at the start of the series, his swings, he would almost be spinning around in the
Mhm.
batter's box. He's not doing that anymore. He's
No.
now planted when he actually swings. So whatever was going wrong, he fixed. And with Barger and everyone else, Varsho is now back. Those first two games are a distant memory. And there is no rear view mirror watching now because none of that matters because we have a game 7 coming. We will be here at the post game. Oh man, I really have an old man thing here. Look, my flashlight's on. How's my flashlight turn on? That's so old man of me. Flashlights will not be on, but we'll be here post game and we'll be back with another show tomorrow morning on Toronto Sports Rush. Thanks, Kyle.